Hello and welcome to the Enlightened Society channel. Today I am just showing an episode of the 1004 show, which is a show that is founded by Zack Miller, and I was actually a featured guest on the show. And in the episode we just talk about my business, his business, and our ventures and our journey. So I hope you all enjoy. Thanks for watching.
What's up, man? How are you?
How you doing? I'm good.
Doing very well.
I'm excited for this conversation. I was going to ask you, how'd you even come about the idea of 1004?
Well, I was at a job summit in the city that I live in southeastern Virginia, maybe 3 years ago, and was listening to a bunch of people that were like, all this area needs is to recruit a bunch of big businesses, and if they just moved 4 large businesses with like 1,000 people, that's all this area would need. And I was like, that seems really expensive and doesn't seem like there's a community behind it. And so I was like, well, what if you flip-flop that and basically tried betting on the businesses that are already in your backyard and tried growing 1,000 businesses with 4 employees, and it kind of stuck. And then I did a TED talk kind of on betting on your own community, and kind of just stuck with it for a while. So,
and I actually just watched that TED talk, and I was surprised because you had the presentation, and it was a well done presentation. So I was going to say, have you seen any of the changes that you've recommended being implemented yet?
Yeah, so depending on who you talk to, definitely. I think that there are some people that believe in the old way, the whale hunting way, if you will, so the recruiting of large businesses, and that's all they try and do. And there are some people that have really invested and really kind of embraced the kind of small business mindset that I think we do. I think that if you look at all of the stats that are positive towards the growth of business, they're all towards small businesses. So like something like 10% or in a deal that is like what we would call whale hunting. And so whale hunting is the recruitment of one company from one area to another area. Southeastern Virginia, so 3 hours southeast of Washington, D.C., and 3 hours northeast of like the Raleigh-Durham area. And so if you were to kind of do a triangle, we would be on, at least the way I'm looking at that part over here. So Virginia Beach is the next city over, and 1.7 million people, home of the world's largest Navy base. And according to Time Magazine, the number one place where millennials are flocking to.
Really? Norfolk, Virginia?
Yeah, watch out. Move from Chicago, move from Valdosta, whatever you want, man. We're here. I'm still kind of a millennial, so it's fine.
Right. See, now that's surprising to me because I always thought Norfolk was a small town.
So the actual city of Norfolk is probably 250,000 people.
Okay.
But the entire region is a series of 17 cities and towns and counties, which compiles like 1.7, 1.8 million people.
That's a lot of people. Wow, I didn't know.
It's it lacks density though. So from a small city perspective, you're right. Where Chicago or Atlanta have hundreds or thousands of city blocks, we have 49, I think.
Okay.
So definitely
puts it into
small.
Perspective.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people, and so the 3 largest cities in the state are all in this region: Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Newport News. So it's like 450, 250, and like 180,000 people, and then a bunch of others in kind of the suburbs or whatever, if you will.
Okay.
So you use those kind of examples of people that are quote unquote motivational speakers. What are you providing that's kind of different than them, or would someone would get something different from those people, or what did you want to provide that was different?
I'm glad you asked that question. So with the YouTube channel, what I'm going to be doing is just things that interest me, and also what I'm doing is just showing my journey. So you get to see from the beginning to, 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road, what it really takes to be an entrepreneur. So you're not only getting just to see the success, but you're getting to see the behind the scenes, the things that I'm doing to ensure my success in the future. And I feel like what I'm bringing to the table that's different from anybody else is I'm being myself in the whole process. So, to people that think that they have to be someone else to become successful, I'm showing you that that's actually not the case. And what you really want to do is just be yourself, be true to who you are, and that the life that you want to live will come into fruition.
Yeah, I think that's so important. So often people make it or get an opportunity and then they become someone that they're not. Mm-hmm. I host a business show on ABC, and when I had to definitely hustle my way onto the show, and as I was doing it, I was like, hey, I don't want to change who I am. I want to wear jeans and a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. And, it took a month for them to even consider me to even, be the host after I convinced them. And I was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm not going to cop out. I'm not going to, I want to be someone, I want to continue to be the same person. I don't want to sell out or anything like that. And so I think that's good that you're doing that. What are some of the challenges that you're going through right now? And I like that you're documenting it, and so you're showing people how to do it, and like you're what you learn, what you don't. Like, right. How long you've been doing it? What are some of the challenges that you're kind of going in with it now?
So, how long I've been doing it? I've been doing it since the beginning of this year. Filming videos, interviewing professionals, interviewing experts, trying to help aspiring professionals to see if those professions are something that they want to do. And the YouTube channel has actually just started in May.
Okay.
And I feel like the problems that I'm facing now is really just the exposure aspect of it. And just having the patience to know that it's not going to happen overnight, but to still engage in consistent and persistent action while being patient.
So, what's the channel again?
The channel is The Enlightened Society, and that's ENLIGHTENED Society. And this is what the logo looks like, if you all can see.
There you go. Spotting it. I'm obviously rocking mine as well. What I think is interesting about that is patience is important. And here's something that I'll tell you that might give you a different way of thinking about that. Nothing happens overnight. Right. Number one. So understand that, right? You don't become a professional athlete without 15 years of training just to get to even draft day. And how many people don't get there? But from a business perspective, everything that you do, you're using a business that is probably a minimum of 3 years old, right? We're talking right now on Skype. They're probably at least a decade old. The person that made your t-shirt is probably 10 years old. The company that I got this from is probably 5 years old. The mouse that I'm using, it's Amazon. They're 20 years old. And so why I'm saying that is longevity is really, really important. Mm-hmm. And so I think all too often we've worked with thousands of businesses through Hatch. And what I think I continue to see over and over again is that people quit too soon. Mm. Now, that's not to say that if the business is doing bad and you're not getting customers and things, like there's a difference between quitting because it's too early and a business that's just not very good. Right? And so if your business is, probably should throw in the towel. But if it just hasn't happened yet, and you believe in it, you can see that it's just not there yet, like playing that long game is going to be very helpful for you into the future. So definitely think about patience. But I loved what you said. It's just being patient with it. It's trying to remember that, hey, this stuff isn't going to happen overnight.
Right. And I even had a question as far as you said. There's a difference between a business being just a business that's not working or a business that hasn't taken off yet. And I would just ask, how would somebody be able to know whether it's a bad business, quote unquote, or it's just a business that hasn't taken off yet?
Yeah, I mean, there has to be like a self-audit, right? So I think if you have customers and you can look that market is large enough that you can acquire more of it, it just hasn't happened yet, then you're probably on the right way. Okay. if you are a restaurant, for example, and no one ever shows up, there's probably a reason, right? Now, maybe the reason is actually customer service or something else in there that you can tweak.
Right.
But I think by kind of policing your business, often you're able to kind of look at that and say, okay, what do I really need to do? And if you're significantly getting customers, you are constantly talking with people and they clearly need your product, but it's just not converting and you're not converting them into buying. Like, I don't necessarily think that's a product problem. I think that's you not convincing them that you can help them. And so you gotta convince them. And so you have a conversation. So like all the conversations I have with people, like I write down notes, right? So I'm talking about what you wrote. I did one of these earlier today. This is what I wrote. And so when I realize that these people are similar to someone else, I look at that and I go, okay, there's a trend. How can I go and talk to all these other people that look like them? And it's very rarely like actual looks. It's not like a black and white or a sex thing. It's literally like, what are they doing that's similar to other people? And so college student that starts a YouTube channel, or a person that gets out of college that starts a YouTube channel, that's probably not a lot of people. Right, but if I recognize that that's my customer and I start going to talk to them, and I'm like, hey, I want you to buy my business, and they keep saying no, I think there's two ways to look at that. Hey, no is you they really don't want what you have, or no is you just haven't figured out the sales strategy or the marketing behind it yet. And I learned that from Damon John when I interviewed him.
Right.
And he's just like, a no is an absolute maybe. And I think it's important to recognize why you get a yes and why you get a no.
Right.
And if people are going to give you no's, but you have to understand kind of why, and tweak whatever that is so that you can get that yes.
Right. So you can adjust. And I will ask you. So since you've interviewed so many people, what has been the common trait that you're seeing with the ones that are having the most success, or the ones that are most successful?
Yeah, consistency, like focus, like they have one goal and they're going after that, and they're aggressively passionate about going after that. Right. And it things change, business models change, products change, but I think the core is usually the same. So we've had different products and services over the years, but our core has always been, help entrepreneurs, help business owners, help them grow. The way that they've received that information has been in a plethora of different ways, but it depends. Like YouTube is a video platform, right? I think they started with certain videos when they started. It doesn't mean that they can't expand. Facebook was just a platform for people on colleges to connect with each other. That's expanded, right? Ultimately it's about connecting people. And so I think that core has always been the same. And people that are insanely focused are the ones that stick with it and end up, being on the cover of magazines, being, on Fortune 500 list, having 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 figure businesses. It's sticking with it.
And obviously, you've been sticking with it because, you did do Hampton Roads Business Weekly. And, wasn't that the ABC television program?
Yep. So still do that too.
Okay, you still do it.
Yep.
And how long have you been doing that for?
I think we're going into year 3.
Okay. Wow.
And that's very little of my time. It just so happens that they have a medium that they basically pay me to interview people.
Right. You're saying medium.
25,000 people watch it a week, and it's a great way for me to get in front of people. And so I want to make the Hall of Fame in business. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if there is a business Hall of Fame. But I know that if I want to help a lot of people, I have to talk to a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
And so whatever I can do, like I've done 3 interviews today. I did an in-person talk with 100 people. Like, you have to get in front of a lot of people. And you have to get that message across. And you have to tell people, you have to raise your hand and be like, yes, these are the things I need to do. And so how can you, have intimate conversations with people like this, and then figure out how that can go and get to the next conversation, I mean, so I met you from a webinar that we were running, and then we communicated afterwards. And so it's like, okay, like I didn't bring you to this webinar to do this,
right?
But this happened, and it's a great opportunity for me to hear your story, you to hear my story, and then to tell that story to the world, because the internet has this thing that allows everyone to have information distributed. And I think that's very powerful. And so I think people should try and create one-on-one conversations, and then figure out a way through a specific medium, YouTube, blogs, podcasts, whatever, to distribute that out so that they can share that with everyone. And yeah, there's best practices that you can do with that. But ultimately, sticking with something for a long time and continuing to not be complacent, and to always raise your hand, and to try and do your best every day. Like,
yeah,
I mean, our parents told us right, I think so.
And it's just funny, like, because like on this journey, on this entrepreneurial journey, I'm just so grateful because I've come into contact with people like you. I've come into contact with others that just genuinely want to help. And I feel like that's another thing. A lot of times people may worry about, well, when I get on this journey, I don't really know anyone. What am I going to do? But I feel like if you get yourself out there, like you said, if you network, if you get in front of people, if you talk to people, get outside your comfort zone, get outside your shell, you will in turn meet the ones that you need. And, it's up to you to continue up to, follow up with them, or send an email, send a text message, send a phone call, Skype with them, like what we're doing right now, because like you said, it just came from a webinar that you hosted. You didn't have to respond to my comment, but you did, and it went further. So I feel like that
caring is important.
It is very important.
I mean, there are plenty of people that don't care, and there are plenty of people that are just out to make a quick buck.
Right.
And so I think if you're going after that, sure, whatever, do that. But I'm playing a long game, and that long game means like you have to play a long game. Like there are going to be short battles,
right?
But the war, I'm going to win,
right.
And so if we're having a bad day, or if we're having a bad month, or something isn't going the way that we are, make sure that it really can go forward, right? And then just realize it'll all be okay,
right?
Like it'll all figure itself out. If you have to call someone and do something and be uncomfortable, you have to ask someone for money, like you have to open up a credit card, like whatever, like it'll all be okay.
And I feel like that's the main thing. Go ahead.
You talked about your parents and your family. Like, what are you doing? Like, what did you respond with?
Well, right now, I'm currently unemployed. But I do have an interview coming up really soon for like a warehousing company. So that'll be my day job. As you and Damon John talked about in the interview, have a day job while you're spending, 2 or 3 hours, however it may be, a week on your business. So that's what I plan on doing, just having a day job. But when I told people, and it's, people, family or friends, it was just, I would tell them that I'm starting up a YouTube channel, it's a motivation and inspirational channel. They would kind of say, okay, well, but what else are you doing?
And well, guess what? They'll never understand, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly, and that's my thing, like. And that's another thing that I just want to show to aspiring entrepreneurs, that when you do embark on this journey, there are going to be challenges that you face, whether it be internal or external, but you have to know yourself and you have to stay true to yourself. And once you do that, everything else will fall into place, because this is something that I want to do. So I'm going to continue to do it until whenever I decide to stop. So it's not something that's just he'll be done and we'll give it a month. It's just a phase or it's just a trend. This is something that I really enjoy doing, and that's something I plan on doing for a long time.
It's interesting though, after you start doing it for a while, it does come full circle, and it's like family members have started businesses now because of some of the stuff I'm doing. I'm like, well, that's interesting. Like, and then my sister started a business, and she's like, oh, I wanted to tell you I did this because you inspired me to do it. And I'm just like, all right, like I wish you would have called me a little bit before you started so we could really talk about it.
Right.
But
So how does it feel like when you're hearing those phone calls and people telling you, "Hey, you really helped me out," or "You really inspired me"? Like, what are you thinking when you hear that?
I mean, I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it to generally just help people.
Mm-hmm.
I, on a way to a speaking opportunity today, I called a customer and I just saw on his Facebook that he acquired a new business, or he acquired new business.
Mm-hmm.
And I just called him, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And I was just like, hey, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time, but I just wanted to say congratulations on getting that new business. It's, I know what it's like to get new business. It's always a good feeling. And in his type of business, I guess he doesn't get a lot of new business all the time. He just has a lot of recurring business. Mm-hmm. And so this was a big thing for him. And I was just like, hey, just wanted to say congrats. And he was like, thank you, man. It means a lot. And then we hung up, talked for 2 minutes, and then I hung up, and I get back to the office a couple hours later, and he's posted this thing on Facebook about how much it meant to him.
Wow.
And I'm like, I mean, I didn't do it for that.
Right. Just a 2-minute conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very thankful that he did that, but I mean, ultimately, I'm more excited that he got new business,
right?
And I just wanted him to know that someone saw it and was just giving him some praise. And it's already hard enough for us as entrepreneurs to go through the things that we do, to then not have the support of so many people that are so important and influential in our lives. That's tough. Right? And for you not to be able to have your family support the way that they want it, I mean, and I'm not saying they're not supporting you, but they're not like,
they're supporting.
And we all go through it, I think, and it's just, you're like, you think I'm doing this for my health? No, like, I'm doing this to, like, change the world, like, and, I'm not going to change the world, but I want to help a lot of people, and I think that I have the ability to do that because I will do things that other people won't, like reach back out to you, be very loud and proud about the things that I want to do, and not be afraid to provide a message that might be against the status quo. Mm-hmm. And I did that today in one of my talks, and I started and I said, look, I'm going to say something controversial. It's not negative. I'm just saying it's controversial. And so I prefaced it like that. I'd given a similar talk a few months before, and people responded pretty negatively to it. And I know that what I'm saying is correct, mm-hmm. but I know that it's not the status quo.
Right. It's not the
norm. And so it basically is along the mindset of 1004. So the believing and the betting on the people in your community instead of trying to create something different. And I knew that I had to, let people know that, hey, what I'm about to tell you is something you've never heard before. And everything that you've read for the last 5 or 10 years are going to be 180 degree different than this. Mm-hmm. But this is why this is important. And then gave all these examples. And you could see at the beginning, they're like, oh boy. And then as it went on, and as I was very into the conversation mm-hmm. with these 100 people, you could tell they were like, oh, he's right. And you could see it in their faces, and you could see it in their expressions that, oh my God, we've been provided with misleading information for all these years. Mm-hmm. And this is really what we should have been doing. And it's just really interesting to see how you can change that mindset where people are like, we do need to do that. And so basically the idea was your city or community is doing well. Stop questioning that mm-hmm. and start embracing it. And so I was telling you about the Time Magazine millennial thing. Someone was like, so what do you think about that? And I said, it doesn't matter what I think about it. We need to embrace the crap out of that because this is an opportunity that may never come back. And here's a great opportunity for you to double down on those millennials and try and get double that, or whoever the group is. It doesn't matter that it's millennials or not. The concept is just that stop questioning and start believing because the facts are the facts.
Right. Wow. And I mean, and just like about the information, but I do want to, say that, aside from just the general questions, like my family has been supportive and, they love me to death and I love them to death and they know that. But as far as the information goes, I feel like you definitely have to inform yourself about what's going on around you. Because, not everything that you hear and say is 100% true. So it's up to you to figure that out and find out, what is true, what are the facts. Like you said, going to the Chamber of Commerce, going to those meetings and actually taking the time to hear what these people are saying, hear what the laws are, understand what the laws are. And that takes a lot of time and effort. It really does.
And I think your family, my family, our friends, they all want us to succeed.
Right.
And for the 22 years you've been alive, the 33 years that I've been alive, or at least a lot of it, we have been told that this is the way that life works. You're an infant. You go to school. After school, you go to college. After college, you go to get a job. You work yourself up in that corporate job, and then you become a manager, and then maybe you become bigger on there, and then you have kids, and then you retire, and then you die, right? Mm-hmm. And now there's this little thing in there, this little birdie that says, hey, you graduate high school, maybe you go to college, or maybe you take your skills and you develop a business off of it. And that might not be the thing that you were taught, but because of the internet, it's easier to have a business now. And so it's just a new mindset. And it's a new way of people thinking about making a living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with the internet, I mean, there's so many opportunities out there, now. And it really baffles me to see, where are we going to be 5 years from now? Where are we going to be 10 years from now?
And if you don't start now, you'll be behind. I think the internet is a great example of compound interest. And so forever we've learned, again, how can you take a tool mm-hmm. like financial information, like compound interest? So if you start something today mm-hmm. or started something yesterday, it's stronger than you starting it today. Right. The same thing was with the internet. If you start something today, it's going to be stronger than if you decide to finally do it in 5 years. Right. And so all of those things are important because they'll build off of each other. And who knows that one time this video gets shared by someone that has 1 million followers, and then overnight you have 500,000 followers, right? And so if you don't do the things in place, it will never be found.
And I would say it's so many, it's so many statements that goes along with that as well because, yes, you want to be in the now, start now. But to those that, are a little late, don't be discouraged because you didn't start yesterday. I feel like you can still start today, however old you are. My uncle, he was talking to me and he was telling me that he was thinking of starting his own business. And, he's I believe he's well over 40. And I was telling him, if that's something that you want to do, go for it. Don't let the age be a hindrance. Don't think, oh, well, just because I didn't do it when I was young means I can't do it now. I feel like it's the complete opposite. Whenever you're ready to do something, do it. I feel like you have to just do it.
My fiance's niece, I believe, she's 7 now, but for the last 6 years, literally her family has been saying, oh, we need to start a YouTube channel about her. Mm-hmm. And I'm always just like, yeah, you do, because she's funny as crap. Mm-hmm. She does ridiculous things, and it's something like that you're seeing these channels hit that kind of viral moment. Mm-hmm. And I tell my fiance Megan, I'm like, someone needs to start this. I haven't done it. It's not my. It's it's up to them to do it, I guess. Right. But I think when you start seeing some of these channels, and you're like, man, like. She could have gone. They could already have made millions of dollars potentially off of her, but they're missing every day. They're missing an opportunity. Right. And start today. Like, if you like to write, start a blog. Get on Medium.com or get a WordPress site. If you like to do videos, start doing videos. Ask people to interview them. Like, people say yes. Like, you can learn from these people, and other people want to learn from them. Like. Buy a camera, like all these things are so much easier than they were in the years past. My entire setup is, I don't know, $1,600. Like, that's not a lot of money compared to 15 years ago when this would have cost $30,000.
Exactly.
And it's going to continue to get cheaper as the cell phone can start recording things like calls like this, and they already can do things like that. But as quality gets better and cheaper, like, it's all about starting now. How did you come up with the name, the Enlightened Society?
That is a good question. And I know there's a lot of negative connotation with the word, the Enlightened Society, because it comes off as a secret society. But the Enlightened Society is not a secret society. And how I came up with the name is what my goal for this company is to just enlighten people on things that they have not encountered before, or to just be an open-minded person. Enlighten means open-minded and self-aware. So, you're enlightening yourself on things that you may not have known before, and you're enlightening others as well in the process. Because me, I'm a big learner. I like to learn. And the things that I do, I feel like I'm learning from, and I want to help others to learn and enlighten them on new things, because I like to be enlightened on new things as well.
You said something there that I think a lot of people miss. And it reminded me of when people think that they have to go to the top first instead of kind of building up. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I think agreeably, have more clout than you.
Yes, sir.
Right? Yet I am not afraid to have a conversation with you, record you, help you do those things.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I don't think it makes me less of a man. I think it allows me to learn from you, stay sharp, help you in hopefully a lot of ways. And I think that's something that, you use the word enlightened to be there. Like, it's the unknown, right? Like, what can I learn from you? Exactly. Like, it doesn't matter that you have 20 million followers or you have 2 followers.
Right.
Like, what is something that, like, I could be learning from you? And I think that's just so magical. Or how could I, with your, growing network, help someone else? Right. And so I think we miss that all too often. And, I look back at times when I'm like, what prepared me for this TV show? Well, I was shooting videos for years. I have a journalism degree. Like, I hadn't used the journalism degree in a long time, but it's like, here, you've been leading yourself into this, and you were never afraid to go too big or too small. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how much money is in my bank account, I'll always be the same person.
There you go.
Right? I might buy something a little nicer. Like, I might buy something really nice, but look at that guy in a Lamborghini.
Right.
Yeah, or you just rent it for like a couple of bucks, I guess. But
get the feel.
No, I mean, be true to yourself. Right. And I think that resonates with a lot of our customers and why they become customers, because they're like, oh, he's like me. He's wearing jeans and a t-shirt. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Mm-hmm. Why? Because that's what he does in his business, and it makes him comfortable, and he can work with people. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a suit all day and I'm uncomfortable, and instead of thinking about how I can help you, I'm thinking about the tie, and I'm going to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Where's it going to go? And so I think you got these consultants that are like, oh, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to look like. And it's like, do you?
And see, that's another thing. I feel like it's like, the way that we do things, I feel like it's always been changing, and it's constantly changing. Like, the way that they did things 50 years ago wasn't the way that they did things 25 years ago. And I feel like, the way that we're doing things now isn't the way that they used to do things. Like, as far as, your attire, coming to work in a t-shirt and the jeans, that may be way more acceptable in the future than it is today. But, even yourself, you're starting to do it. And, you may have heard people tell you, well, if you really want to be taken seriously, then you need to dress a little bit more professional. But once people understand that it's not the appearance, it's the actual substance of what someone has to provide, then they'll understand that, okay, appearance is just, what's in front of you.
I want to be known for what I do, not how I look.
Right. Yes, sir.
And I don't, like, if I didn't get a customer because someone was like, I wanted you to look this way, cool, bye.
Yeah.
Like, on to the next. What's next for you?
What's next for me in terms of the YouTube channel?
YouTube channel. I mean, what's your vision for the next few months or so?
Okay, so my vision for the next few months is to continue to put out videos because as of right now, I'm putting out videos weekly on my channel, The Enlightened Society, and then I also have another channel which is Signs of Motivation, and that's a channel where I perform sign language. I interpret motivational videos from another YouTube channel for those that are deaf and hard of hearing and that know sign language.
Are you, what is it? ASL? Is that what it is?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm interpreting ASL. And then
So why have two channels?
Why I have two channels? Because I feel like I'm a multifaceted person. So one channel is geared towards a hearing audience, and the other is geared towards a deaf audience. And I feel like I don't really feel like the two needed to be together. So I'd rather separate them, and that way it's easier for me to manage the two.
Very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what you do with that, and if one of them takes over rather than the other. I'm always interested in how, as someone that's owned multiple businesses and merge them together, close them, it's always interesting to see how kind of that flow turns out, months or years down the line.
I was going to say, so what are your experiences with, having multiple companies? And
I think it's expensive.
You think so?
That's a YouTube channel I think is different than, having multiple businesses. But when those multiple businesses could be the same, right, I think put them under one. And so every year I was getting, I don't know, $10,000 worth of fees because I had like 4 or 5 businesses that basically could have been one.
Ouch. Yeah.
And it could have cost me $1,000. And I just was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Put them all in one.
Just merge it.
So literally at one point I had Hatch Operations, Silicon Anchor News, Ashbrook, which is the name of my dog, who is a company, 3 investment companies. So I don't know where they're now. The investment companies were a little separate. And then I think there was at least one other company in there, The Pitch. All things focused around kind of, helping entrepreneurs, helping business owners. But instead of having one of those or one in the 3 kind of investments, I had 4 or 5. And it cost me all this ridiculous. Even if money isn't an object, spending money on stupid stuff like that is dumb. And there's ways that you could improve upon it, and I basically just was like, I gotta get rid of this. I gotta put all these in one. And so ultimately that's what I did. And now every year I have to write 1 check instead of 4 or 5.
And do you feel like that's working? Well, obviously it seems like it's working better than having it separate entities.
Yeah, I mean, I know why I did them separately, because I was, I didn't create them all at one point,
right,
but really they could have been under an umbrella company, which is Hatch, and then a bunch of sub-companies, if you will, or products or services. So now it's Hatch, and then a product is 1004, or, some consulting work with cities, or events that we do, or something else, right? And so all of those basically are the same, can be under the same umbrella. Don't waste money on things that you don't have to. I mean, the amount of... at one point, the amount of checkbooks I had that I had to make sure I was writing the right check. I mean, it's just, it's a waste of time.
See, I don't even have a checkbook now, so I know that that'll be interesting for me.
You start making money, you will.
Exactly. And see, that's a question that I have for you. Is Hatch an LLC or is it a corporation?
Started as an LLC. It is now an S Corp. Okay. I think it's still an LLC, like an S Corp doing business as an LLC or something like that. Okay. Look, the way I look at legal terms and things like that is go talk to a lawyer, right? The reason why is I'm pretty sure it's an S Corp, but somehow it still has a designation to an LLC. And so I don't even know the exact words to say. And I think so often people don't hire the right professional to help them. Right? I don't know how to do accounting. Let the accountant do it. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't know what anything like that is saying in the legal world. Let that person do that. You wouldn't have. You go to a doctor, right? These people are your doctors, and I think it's important to hire those people. And it's not always about money. There's ways that you can convince them to give you free and reduced services. I think I'm really good at negotiating things like that, and but it's important to have someone help you on those things. I think
definitely, because I know that getting an LLC and getting a business license, I know that those things are expensive. So how is it that, because before you were before Hatch was official, how were you booking and handling clients, or did you have to wait until you became official to do that?
It's pretty easy to become an LLC. Like, you can do it in 20 minutes.
Isn't there a fee associated with it?
Yeah, $150 or something like that.
Okay, wow.
So I guess personal money. Now, there is, if you have partners and there's legal paperwork, there's some things to do there. But the majority of the businesses that I've had, I've been the single member owner. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there has been some paperwork that I don't really need. Or I didn't need as much paperwork, I guess, that, if I was in a relationship with a partner, that I would need to do. But you can go online. I mean, you can do it today. You can't open a bank account without that. You can't open a bank account without an EIN number. I think an EIN is $20, and to open a business is probably $100 plus in the state business license, which is probably $50. So $170.
Oh, yeah. That's very interesting because I guess because I was just under the impression that to become a corporation or to become a company, you're gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars, and that's just hearsay. Once again, I should have went and did my research on what it takes and what are the requirements for that.
And I think it also allows you to take yourself a little bit more serious too. And so if you're kind of on the fence, you can be like, no, I'm a business now. Right. And it's that step. Right. And psychologically, you're like, no, I have to think like this business. And so for every dollar that you spend, mm-hmm. you could be expensing that. And yeah, you can go back and retroactively go back and get that money back. But if you spend, on anything for the business, you should expense that so that you don't have to pay additional taxes on things like that. And so those are a lot of reasons why I think it's important to have all those steps and save those receipts and have an accountant understanding what can be expensed and whatnot. I understand how to read financial statements and all those things, but I've done our books. I don't do our books anymore. I hire someone. You have 10,000 transactions a year. You don't want to deal with that. It's not fun.
Yeah, I guess it's just, you have to manage what's on your plate because that's mm-hmm. a lot. I guess starting out, maybe not bad, but as you grow and grow and grow, it becomes a lot.
It's overwhelming though, and you don't know what is really important. And I think if you can understand, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, me doing this is a 10, meaning it's important, or this is a 1, what are you more likely to do? Right, 10. And that's how I talk to people. That's how I talk to those kind of service providers. I'm like, okay, what kind of risk am I really going into with this? Mm-hmm. And so I remember there was a contract that I signed for some business, and a lawyer was like, look, I want you to change the language in this. I think you need to do this, this, and this. And I said, okay, I'm only making so much money on this. It's going to cost me a lot of money for you to change that language. What's the real risk? And he was like, if we were at the bar, he's going to be mad that I said this too, by the way. If we were at the bar and we were having some cocktails, and I would tell you, you're probably going to be okay. And I said, that's all I needed to know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. Got a lot more to do.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why we started this show, is to tell our story, tell other people's stories, and try and impact more lives, and try and help people that don't normally get seen, or not visible. And I think that's what we've been doing for a long time, but now we're using channels to be able to make it special. And you're in Chicago. Right. I'm in Virginia Beach, we're 1,000 miles away. Yes, having an amazing conversation. Amazing. And I think that's what's important, is to realize that, just asking someone, hey, let's do this. And I don't remember who asked first, if it was you or me, but it's not being shy about it.
Right.
And saying, you know what, these 40 minutes are going to be important. And I'm going to learn something about you. You're going to learn something about me. And hopefully we can implement something from that, or help someone else in the future. And to me, that's worth a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's conversations like these, that I feel will charge your battery, or the conversations like these that keep you going, and they kind of remind you of, why it is that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, would you rather have a conversation like this or a negative one?
Exactly. My point exactly.
I've had an amazing day. I haven't said anything negative.
Hey,
right? Why not do this all day?
Conversation.
That's it. So I appreciate your time. I'm really excited about this relationship and seeing where you guys go. The Enlightened Society, I'll obviously put that in the show notes and everything so people can find that out. But I wish you continued success, and looking forward to seeing where you go in the future.
And I would say just thank you for having me. I wish you continued success as well. And I look forward to speaking with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. See you.